All right. Okay, everyone. Well, welcome to Mentoring Hub Session 3. So this session is going to be all about positive mindset. I'm Sue Cosgrove and the National Project Manager for PIPA. And we're going to see what we can find out about this positive mindset idea over the next 1 hour. As I normally have, details. So if you would like to contact me to ask more questions about PIPA, please feel free. Then if you want to find more information about PIPA, you can please go to our website there and have a look and see what we've got to offer there. As always, we start with an acknowledgement of country. So today, I'm actually coming to you from my home, which sits in Jagera lands, and we're home to the Wape tribe here in where I live. And you are all on diverse lands as well. So if you would like to put into your chat the land you're from today, that would be ideal, so we can see the diverse lands that we're coming from today. Normally, I'll be coming to you from QUT, which is Turrbal and Jagera lands, and that's education lands, and it always has and always will be. So it's great to acknowledge our lands and where we're from. So the housekeeping for these sessions always is basically if you can keep on mute most of the time. However, if you want to really get in and have a conversation, just pop your hand up. You can use the little emoji hands, or you can if you've got your camera on, you can put your hand over your face, because then that sort of gets my attention and I can stop and we can have a chat. Otherwise, just chat away in the chat, because I can always see the chats pop up, and already I can see that chats are popping up. And Steph has acknowledged that she's from the Turrbal and Jagera lands at QUT, which is saying hi to everyone. And Brooke's saying she's from Wodjak Noongar land. So thank you very much, Brooke. So as always, if you haven't been to one of our sessions before, we make sure that when we come together, we presence with this idea from Otto Scharmer of U theory, which is we presence with an open mind. So we're curious to ask them questions. We come with an open heart and we're compassionate to listen and learn more from each other, but also an open will. So we have the courage to talk more, ask questions, put things in the chat and find out more about what we're doing here. This is all part of U theory, is all part of learning to know who you are so you can be what you need to be and do what you need to do. So the knowing, being, doing cycle. And we always take care and compassion in this session. We're always thinking about our self-care from the point of looking after ourselves and educating ourselves and nurturing ourselves, that compassion as well for each other in the moment. And we share stories with each other sometimes. And if you want to share those stories with each other, that's great. And if you would like me to not record those pieces, that's great too. An idea of positive mindset, as it says there, is derived from positive psychology. And the most notable person who's researched on this is Dr. Martin Seligman. Do you just want to take a moment to, have a thought on that definition? A way of being that allows you to approach unpleasantness and challenges in a more positive and productive way. I don't know, that seems pretty straightforward to me. This idea then of what is positive psychology is probably that next step to know, well, what is that idea? And Martin Seligman he just pioneered that view that optimistic people will fare much better than pessimists in many areas of life. And with a particular focus on anything where you're handling stress, the effects of being an optimist on positive health outcomes. So that idea that when you're pessimistic and you've got that negative view and that negative lens, that actually has a negative effect on your well-being. And that's physiological through releasing of cortisol and those sorts of things. So it's increases your cortisol levels in your body, which affects your renal functions, and that increased stress, if not met and if not cared for or acknowledged, can actually, have life-limiting outcomes for you as well. And just your general well-being of, whether you're feeling that you're in the world in a good place. So in all of his research, he focuses on this idea that there's 5 key elements that supports people's increased well-beings. And this comes down to the PERMA model that I've just mentioned there. So he has this idea, and it's well researched and founded, that if we stick to these 5 ideas when we're really stressed, we can change our well-being and change our health outcomes and change what's going on for us. Has anybody heard of this PERMA model? Do people know what these 5 points are? No? No? Okay. Well, the first one is P, obviously, and it talks about positive emotions. So it talks about that, do you know if you thought about each day of the week, do you sit in a positive or a negative emotional balance? So when you wrap up at the end of every day, where are you sitting? Engagement is the E component of this model. And so E is about, your engagement in your life, your world, the people around you. Are you engaged in a way that aligns with you and makes you feel good? The next one is R is about relationships. So are your relationships positive? Are you surrounded by a community of people who, is strong and have your back and really keep you feeling good about the universe? M is meaning. So do you have meaning about what you do in your everyday? Do you have meaning in your life? Do you align with your values? Those sorts of things, all those parts. You get meaning from so many things. So it doesn't have to be any one thing. And it's the same with our relationships. We have so many relationships in our life. And some of them we have positive aspects that really lift us. So it's about that as well. And then the last one is A for achievement. So it's about what are your achievements? How are you going in life? How are you feeling? Do you acknowledge your achievements, or are you not taking enough notice of them? And so they're those key components that is looking at your well-being. And so it's, that happiness factor. So this is why positivity is so exciting, because if we are positive, we will have more of an open mind. We'll be flexible. We'll have flexibility. We'll be disciplined. We'll have an ease in creating social connections. We'll be aware of our positive physical health. We will be strong. We may not suffer as much illness, and we'll have a high resilience drive. Now, this is a big thing, and we're talking more and more about resilience in daily workplaces these days as well. And Barbara Fredrickson's another person who's talked a lot about this, and she talks about there's a balance of positive and negative emotions as well. So she talks about this ratio of PEAs to NEAs of 3:1. So you've got to have 3 positives to 1 negative, and because we can't, as I think we talked about in the last session, you can't rely solely on being positive all the time, because you actually do need some of those negative things happening for you to develop solutions, your resilience, all those sorts of things. It's frightening for lots of people. But when we get those negative points, that really does help us with change. And that building resilience, as I mentioned, is really important. Can you think of any people who you, like just through media or who personally, who you hold in high regard as high resilience? So you see them working with negative outcomes quite a lot, at battling adversity quite a bit, and they still seem to have this amazing resilience. Can you think of any people who might be in our media who you acknowledge as being a highly resilient person?
I guess without meaning to get political, I bet Anastasia Palaszczuk's doing all right at the moment, considering.
Wait a minute, we've got Brooks included Mark McGowan, and Alex has mentioned the New South Wales Premier as well. So anybody know who Shane Fitzsimmons is? Yeah, so he was a fellow who, when we had the massive amount of bushfires in that summer of 2019-2020, and he led the response of all of that. And he would come in every day and talk to the media about how it was all going, but then was out on the ground with everybody, inspiring hope and working with people. Is anybody, is they aware of him? I think I've got his picture there for you to see if it can stimulate your memory as well. Yeah, I think it's really, it's important to notice these people and see what makes them different, because they're doing something that makes them different. Yeah, Alex is saying he was amazing as well. But I think it's really important to notice these people to see what are they doing differently and what can we learn from with what they're doing. I really find that exciting. There's also, and I found this interesting, there's actually a Resilient Australia awards system where you can notice really resilient people in Australia, and then there's an annual awards where you can nominate people who are highly resilient, who makes amazing, who are caring for Australia. And I'm quite heartened when I go in there and I look at the award, who's received these awards. A lot of really young, energetic people. So I don't know. I think it gives you that positivity and hope that there is all these great things going on in the world. Then, if we're still thinking on this idea of 3 is to 1, last month when we met, we talked about this idea of an emotional guidance scale. So it's part of the reflective process of going, well, how can I quickly check in on my positive and negative emotions at the end of each day and see where I'm sitting in the best part of the day, so I can start noticing if I'm in this place. And so I introduced this idea of an emotional guidance scale by a couple of really clever people called Esther and Jerry Hicks. And we looked at this simple process. And when we were in that session last month, Johnson Martin talked about this idea of, wow, wouldn't it be great if you could build this, that you could just check this off every day on an app type process to, just noticing yourself where you've sat for the day. And so we thought about that a little bit, and I'm going to hand over to Steph for a minute.
You see the screen?
Yes, we can see the screen.
Okay, so this is just on the Pepper Learning Management System. So just when you go into Pepper Mentoring, you've got all the mentoring modules there. It's in the mentoring resources. And then you can either click on the link there, or it's just right here. So you've just got the link there for the emotional guidance scale. So you can just do these on each of Sue's sessions and just check in. So you can see here on Sue's last session, I felt positive with expectation and belief. So that was my last one. So you can go in and, change it. So I'm feeling enthusiastic and eager today, and then just save your choice. So it's just kind of like you can check in from how you were on the last stage and just update, and you can do it as often as you like. Yeah, there we go.
So this is really good because it adds to some of the other work we've got in here with the 5-year plan and those ideas of positive mindsetting. So, and you can come and go from this site as much as you like. And I think that 5-year plan, if you haven't had a look at it and that visioning type of thing and understanding where you're traveling, what's your plan? Like, who do you want to be, and who are the people who are going to support you? So this is a bit of a process document that you can start doing. You can keep saving the steps that you get to. It's something that might take you a little bit of time and a lot of thought. But the great thing is you can come and go from this document as much as you want because you've logged in and it's under your name and at your site. So please give it a go, and then, check in with yourself on your emotional guidance scale and see how you're going.
Just to say as well, there's also certificates up there as well for each of the sessions now. So each of the webinars, you can print out a certificate of attendance.
Makes life easier for everybody too, doesn't it? Yeah. So here we go. So today, have a look right now and see where you're rating yourself. With what you've had in your day today, tick off, maybe, there might be 5, 6, 7, 8 ranges of emotion that you've gone through today. So when you tick them off and then you think, where did I sit today with my emotions? Was it good? Did you sit more in that positive set or more in the negative set? Okay. So have a quick go at that right now. And all you have to do right now is just notice. Just notice it. Just notice that right now. And that's so if you found that when you just did that, you were maybe sitting a little bit more in the negative, then how can you cultivate this idea of positivity all the time? It's as we said before, you can't be positive all the time, but you can notice when you're sitting in the negative and then shift yourself. Okay. If we want to start looking at those lists of positive emotions, so if we go back to the list of positive emotions and look at that idea of joy, knowledge, empowerment, freedom, love, appreciation, passion, enthusiasm, eagerness, happiness, positive expectation, belief, optimism, hopefulness, and contentment. So I think, what the power of positive thinking is about. It's about that idea of thinking for a moment about one of those powerful positive emotions you've had and sitting there quietly with it and remembering that moment and conjuring that sense of feeling from inside you and remembering what it was that you were doing at that moment. And you can do this through visioning. So you can sit quietly with yourself with your eyes closed and do that visioning things. Or you can get pen and paper out and journal it down. It's really up to you how you do it. But think about that joyful moment. Think about that moment where you had that contentment and sit with it and then wonder and sort of ask yourself, well, what else gives me that feeling? How else can I tap into that feeling so that I can cultivate more of this? And so it might be surrounding yourself, attracting this, when you find those positive people in your life, spending more time with them. I don't know, there's so many ways to surround yourself with a bit more positivity, and I want to stop talking for a bit because I talk too much. And just want to hear from you guys. What's other ways that you have in yourself that you can attract positivity or conjure that feeling of elation and that good feeling that you sit with because you've had something amazing happen and you just want to revisit it?
I guess if I want to get in a positive mindset, I always try and get outside and look at nature. Do you know what I mean? Whether it's, got some great plants and trees and things around here, so and wildlife.
Fabulous point. Yeah. Nature with its natural green therapy is fabulous. Anything else? Anybody? Oh, we've got a chat. Wait a minute. Let me just pop in there and have a look. From Rachel, acts of kindness. Oh, that is so good. I love those random acts of kindness too. They're just so beautiful. Active listening to family and friends. Fabulous. Yep. And sitting with them and in that storytelling way, isn't it? Is that what you mean too, Rachel, with that storytelling and that sharing of those great stories? Yeah, I love that. It's so brilliant, that stuff. Alex is looking at photos of events. So these are events where there've been really happy times going on. So like all those 21sts and weddings and things, Alex?
Yeah.
Fabulous. And is that with families and friends and all those people who are positive around you? Family, fabulous. Yeah, and friends. Great. Thanks, Alex. Yeah, so it is. It's that really, oh, Brooke, laughing and giggling with my baby boy. Well, good idea, Brooke. And Aria, listen to some music in a quick break. Oh, fabulous. Brooke's giving me a thumbs up. But yes, it's all of these things, and everybody has got their own way because you have your own way of being. And it's just important that you've tapped into that own way of being. And as mentors, that's what you do. You tap into your own way of being, you nurture yourself, so that's why you keep giving so much every day, because you're working at a higher level of self-awareness. People to be more, to embrace positivity for their self and well-being isn't a terrible thing. And it aligns with my values really well. So a man who has written a lot about it is Norman Vincent Peale, and he talks about the power of positive thinking. And at the end of this PowerPoint today, which I will put up on the learning management system for you, I found a link that you can download that PDF book for free. And it might be something you want to learn more about and have a bit more to read about. So I'll make sure that's put up for you so you can read more about that. My question to you now is, thinking about this 3:1 ratio that we need to keep our energy up every day so we can be present in the way we want to be every day. What will you do for yourself? But I'm going to challenge you a little bit further to say, if you've got a couple of negative people surrounding you, what could you do as a mentor to support them to start moving and shifting to more positivity in their thinking, or starting to even notice their negativity as well? So take a moment and think about those 2 points. So the first point is about yourself, what you can do for yourself. And then the second point is, if you have got people who are stuck in a negative trap, what could you mentor them towards to shift their thinking? Steph did put in there. So that's a really good point, Steph, what you've said there about, listening to the issues though. And that's really important, is negative people are there for a reason. They're in their thinking for a reason. And so it's really important to listen. And, and we may be able to help, with, thinking a different way. But that's a really good point that you make there about making sure you don't get trapped in hearing it all the time, Steph. Has this ever happened to you, Steph?
Yeah, totally. I seem to attract people's problems. So they want to, they'll come and they'll tell you about their issues, which is fine. But it's like what you said earlier, you don't want to get caught people telling you the same thing over and over and over without them actually addressing it. It's fine to listen and to, if there is a real problem, then obviously, that might need some help with that or addressing. But if it's just negative venting all the time, then that's not helpful.
Yeah, because some people that do end up in a trap of, and what happens is when we keep telling the same story over and over again, we do really start getting trapped in it because we keep believing that version of events from our point of view. So it is about that perspective problem as well. Alex said, yes, acknowledging the negative comments, behaviour, and ask how it's making them feel within themselves. That's great, Alex. And I was at a mentoring face-to-face workshop last night, and it was really great because someone brought that up. They actually brought that idea up of, having a lot of empathy for those people who are negative, because it is really hard to be them and sit with that negativity all of the time. And Alex, did you want to add anything to that?
Oh, it'd take a lot of energy to be that negative, to be negative and not be able to maybe get past it, or to get out of that cycle, I guess.
Yeah, perfect. Thanks, Alex, for chiming in. That's great. And so, how can you, having that empathy for them and then asking them, would they like to think about ways to change that so that they could get more energy back for them? Yeah, that's a really good possibility. Brooke has put in that for herself, she likes to take time for herself, exercise, walk at the beach to ground yourself. Mentor people. Brooke says that she likes to uplift, motivate, and encourage the negative person and actively listen to their issues. So you're all in there, I'm hearing very good similarities there. I'm loving it.
Really helpful. I guess the good thing about being a mentor is it's really fulfilling and uplifting afterwards if you know you were able to help somebody. But at the same time, I think there is that sense of transference when you get that negative emotion from the person who's talking to you, and almost very convincing in their story. But I think often I think I'll just let them vent it out, and eventually they'll say something that like, well, actually, maybe the perspective is, and then that's when I start asking questions. It's like, okay, what do you think would be what else would you consider in that situation? The only thing that I need to be mindful and remind myself all the time is that to not talk about myself, because I tend to share something and then the topic becomes about me. I was like, okay, pull back a bit. I think that's the bit that I'm really trying to be mindful of. And for those people who are really close to me and really call me, say, I just need to have a big dump to you. Like, okay, cool, go for it. For those people that are on that level in trust, they know I'll be really frank with them about my opinion, and I'll be really just blunt, and I would say as how I heard it. But for those people who don't know me, I'd be more gentle in a way.
Fabulous. Thanks, John, for sharing. That's great. So this is the thing. So this is how we keep our balance, but we are supporting lots of people as mentors, and we're kind of guiding people a little bit, as John was saying there. So, but we're trying to do it with kindness and consideration too. So that's where we're at. So if you've got, I've just been doing a lot of work in this space for a little bit and found this idea of sometimes when people are really, really stuck in negativity, and they're a little bit trapped, you can use things like a decision tree. Has anybody seen anything like this before? So this is what is used a lot when you're trying to help people think more about where they are and, and how to think there, because the only way sometimes for people to really get themselves on a positive stream is they have to do that for themselves. You can't drag people along on a journey. You actually have to inspire them to find their solutions. And people have their own solutions, but they just sometimes can't, they've got a lot going on, a lot of stress, so they can't find them. And so sometimes as mentors, we're just guiding people to find another way. And so we have to have quite a massive toolkit of stuff, right, to give to people that might fit them. And this is just another one of those things. So as you know, last time we talked about this idea of this emotional guidance scale. Well, this is another one. And that's a great thing for just getting people to notice how they're feeling. And sometimes that's half the battle, is people are noticing each day how they're feeling and just paying attention to that. But then there's the next thing of, well, if I am really stuck on something, if I used a decision tree, could I help myself a little bit more to find my own solutions? And so here is this idea, and this is once again by some very learned people who have a lot of knowledge on this. And they come up with this loop system, and I'm so grateful to Steph for putting this into a system for me. And basically, the first part of this decision tree is to look at the problem that they might be really stuck on and they keep venting on and they keep dwelling on, and take, and it says there to remove the self-esteem from the circuit. So what we're saying there is to take the emotional factors out of it and to try and just look at the bare fact. So look at the bare facts of the problem. So an example might be here of, my organize, it might be, and I'm just trying to pick something that's very relevant maybe to society today, that I'm quite stressed and I'm getting quite anxious about the COVID situation, and I'm really feeling quite depressed by the fact that there is no solutions here, and people are dying, and this is getting really quite strained and desperate, and I'm feeling quite stressed and highly emotive about the COVID situation, okay, which is happening for some people. So what we have to look at there is go, okay, well, so if I take all the emotion, the emotional value that I'm adding to it out, and look at the numbers and look at the facts of what's going on, okay? So I do that first of all. And then I look at this, and then I analyze a little bit more what that critical part of my brain is doing. So what is my brain really doing there? Is it creating anxiety in me? And so it's not probably so much the fact of COVID that's causing me the stress, it's the emotional volume I'm putting on top of the idea that's causing it. So my critic is quite emotive and quite stressed at the moment, is what's really going on here. So is that constructive to me? So I have to decide here at this turning point in the road and go, or is it constructive that I'm really getting anxious and stressed about COVID? No, it's not constructive. And then there might be a whole, I don't know. Is it? I don't know. So I might have to go back and analyze my emotions a little bit more to understand them. So I might have to go back in the loop a bit and try and understand more about it. So this is where mentors are really helpful, because we can sit there quietly and listen to all the reasons why people are feeling the way they're feeling. Yeah? Have I got everyone's attention, or am I not really being very clear? Just give me a thumbs up on your little emojis if you like, or just with your thumbs up. That works too. Oh, thanks, Aurea. Thanks, Brooke. Thanks, Alex. John. Oh, thank you. Thank you, everyone. I just wanted to make sure I was making sense. All right. So we're sort of at that space where we've gone, I'm really quite anxious. I'm really getting stressed. And then I'm going, is it constructive? And so it might be, no, it's not constructive. Okay. So this isn't constructive to me. This isn't helping me. This isn't helping me find solutions, or it's not making me feel good. That's guaranteed, right? So then, is it accurate? Well, no, because the fact is, yes, COVID's going on, but the way I'm reacting to these numbers and these things isn't actually accurate. Okay, because yes, we do have vaccinations. Yes, we do have governments in place that are working towards this. We do have the fact that yes, there is some people who are dying from this, but the numbers are quite small if we look at it comparatively to other countries. We can see that people are really trying to make an effort with putting plans in place about gatherings and wearing masks and hand hygiene and social distancing. And so if I look at all that, my emotions are not really accurate and not aligning with that. Okay, all right. So then I can go to this idea of clouding. So what is that idea of clouding? And that's their terminology. And so is that I agree in part that I'm being quite anxious and quite worried for when I have to trust that the government and the other agencies have really got this. So I have to agree in part, and I have to trust that the people who lead us are on this. And okay, so that clouding idea is that I either agree in part to what's happening, that there is a probability that it's all going to be fine, and I'm just making it more than it is. And the principles that, the principle is there that people are looking after this. So it's that idea that I'm either agreeing in part, there is a probability that it's all okay, and there is, policies and procedures and things happening in place that's making this all work, okay? So that takes me to the fact that now I can stop. Okay, I've really thought this through and I can stop. So this can be quite relieving to the person who's working through this process, because now they can go, oh, okay, so I can stop worrying, I can stop being anxious, I can stop, creating maybe my own negativity. And it's really good that when people are doing this, and I have actually used this tree with a couple of people over time. And it's really great that when you're doing this, we've written down how they've felt and the points that they've matched along the way, so that they could acknowledge that. So, because here's the deal, you can go through the tree limbs and you can do all of this, but our minds are busy. We have 15,000 thoughts a day, so they're really busy places up here, right? And so this is why it's really important to write it down, because when that person, maybe later in the day when they're a bit tired, a bit more fatigued, they see a news blast that talks about COVID again and raises their anxiety, can you see they might need to pull out that notepad again and reassure themselves that they've thought this through? Can you see that? So that's why it's really good if you write these things down and you actually work with someone in that way. Yeah? Okay. So and so you can, does the rest of the flow chart seem to make sense to you? So if I went down to, is it constructive? Like, is my higher mode of value constructive to me? And I agreed, yes, it was. Then I would have to query, actually, is this accurate? So I'd still have to check back in with myself and see if it was accurate. And then, no, it's not accurate. And so then I would have to still correct my misconception. So I'd still have to work towards understanding why I went down that path. Okay. And then if I went over to, is it accurate? And, I decided that, yes, my anxiety and my stress about COVID is accurate, then I have to acknowledge it. And see, this is where, once again, you trip yourself up, because you do, if you really want to believe that you're 100% correct in the face of all facts, you have to sit down and you have to write that out and you have to acknowledge it. And so that's where, when you're using this type of thing, you can actually see that, I'm probably not being as reasonable as I need to be right now. Okay, I have to go back to the beginning and remove all the emotion again and start on this process again. So this is the decision tree. This is for people who we might come across who are super stuck, to help them think another way. And it might be something that we can do with them together, or it might be something we can give them to think about, to go home with, and then maybe talk about another day even. You don't have to do it in the day. But it's just another way of helping people, I like to think. If you wanted a copy of this, you can definitely download one and print one off for yourself. Steph, where else do we put it?
I'm not sure if it is on the learning management system, but I was just looking at it and listening to what you were saying actually about writing the steps down. So maybe I'll just create another one with some space next to it where you can jot down
fabulous.
points.
Yeah.
Would that be helpful?
Look, I don't know. We'll go to the people who have joined us today. Would that be helpful if we created space so that you could write along?
Yeah.
Yes, John says yes. Alex says yes. To work with people. Thanks, Toria. This helps us to support people to think about their self-care and make it a priority. Also, it helps with reframing and changing thinking. And sometimes when people are really stressed and stuck, that's what they need help with. So as mentors, we can really help people with that too. All right, well, we'll take this back again and we'll fiddle with it a bit, Steph. Fabulous.
Also too, Sue, I think it's really helpful. This is a really excellent tool for people because it'll slow down the rate that they're thinking. Because I think you mentioned we think so much. And I think just by slowing down, giving them the chance to actually, okay, just do it in a process, do it slowly, rather than jumping to the conclusion, this is exactly what's happening. And then I think hopefully we can help them getting unstuck because they can start seeing the other perspective.
Yeah. And the thing is, these are clever people. These are people who are not silly at all, but they're very caught up in them in that emotional moment. And it's really hard for them to see. And, you know, and we've all been there. Gosh, I've been there 10 million times. I've been so caught up in my head that I haven't, you know, been able to really see what's going on. And my perception has just been, yeah, you know, I've just made assumptions, and I've made the things worse because my mind has been racing too far ahead, you know? And so this is slowing it down, isn't it, John, what you said?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's just not trying to find a solution per se, but it's really just helping them acknowledge what's going on. And I think that's really, really helpful. And I think that's why it's really good to see that acknowledgement there.
Yeah. And also I think that stopping at the bottom and just, you know, stop now. Let's not dwell. Okay, we've got to the bottom, we've reached an end point. But knowing that you're human and you may go back, you may go back and you may look at it again. So it is important. I think it's really great. Aurea just made a really good point in that about liking the word cloud, because sometimes it all has to go into a big clouded bubble. And you have to think, okay, do I have to think about this differently and agree in part and see that there is principles here and there is other things going on here? Yeah, I like it too. All right.
I quite like the idea. I really like what you said about writing it down, because like sometimes if you've got someone in a negative mindset and then you've, you know, help them talk through a situation, you can even reflect back on it and just, you know, so that they learn the lessons. This is how you felt. This is the mindset you were in. Now you're in a good mindset. You know, stop this happening again, sort of thing.
Yeah. And so when you do come back and you do talk to someone again, which, you know, inevitably you will, you can always, I love that, you know, one of my classic sort of phrases and my go-tos is always doing that. So tell me what great things have happened this week. Because what happens is then people will go to, well, you know that thing we were talking about last time we talked? Figured it out better. And you're like, oh, great, tell me more about that then. And so they've created their own solutions. They've done that. Like, this is their work, you know, and you're just got the pleasure of, you know, them coming to you and talking to you about it, which is, you know, it's a real honor that people would share that with you, you know. So it's lovely. Okay, so here is a question as we draw closure to today, because I am mindful that we are running out of time. So I guess it's, where is your mindset today? So if we did an emotional guidance scale with you today, where are you today? Are you in the positive or are you in the negative? Just quick chat, just write P or N. Are you in the P or are you in the N? I'm going with a big P. Right, can you do that? Can you actually give it a rating of big P or little P? I haven't seen that in the readings. I think I'm making stuff up now. Okay, we've got people. So we've, Ori is a quadruple P. She's created her own scale. I love it. Fabulous. Thank you, everyone. I'm liking the P's. That's great. I'd like to know next week, in this next week, you know, I feel like you guys are noticing your mindset already. So I always feel like I'm preaching to the converted a bit, and I think you're on this already. So we might just skip to the next question of, so do you think you'd like to inspire others on these points? Do you think you want to show other people? Do you think you could share this with one other person and inspire them to notice their mindset? Yeah? Excellent. John's giving me a nod. Fabulous. And the decision tree, do you feel confident that you could share that with someone as well? Yeah, I love it. All right. That's fabulous. Thank you. Ori's giving thumbs up there too. So thank you. And it's really, it's something that you can try, you know, if you've got a mentoring session coming up and you're mentoring someone, You know, it's just something that you can try, or something you could do with yourself quietly, just one evening. A lot of people have said various comments of this. And this is what I think about when I think about positive and negative mindsets a lot. So if you, and you know, that idea of you keep being negative, yeah, you're pretty much going to keep being negative. But if you keep being positive, you're pretty much going to keep following that mindset too. So what would you prefer? I have a preference for positivity. And so therefore, if I keep being positive, I'll keep getting positivity. And that's what I deserve. So that's where I want to align with. Okay, so that's where I like to be. Now, I'll just show you when you do get this PowerPoint up on the site, there is my references because I don't make this stuff up, just so you know. And, the link to the book is not there. I think it's in the references, actually. Let me just clarify. No. Oh, maybe I'll put it in a link on the actual picture, because I have these fanciful ideas sometimes. And then I put here a bit more about Martin Seligman, so you can see him talk, because he's pretty impressive as a person when he talks. And this was when he was presenting at Adelaide University when he was out, so that was really good. That's the link to the Resilient Australian Awards, so that you can see how, you know, we do have that sort of promotion in Australia where we are trying to acknowledge resilient Australians. And another thing that I didn't touch on today, but it's something that's quite important and might be interesting to you. Do you know what your strengths are? As humans, we have strengths, and they're the things that align with our resilience. And so if you go into this link, it'll take you through a few pages, and there's actually a whole list of surveys in the middle of the page. This is Martin Seligman's site. And you can do a happiness survey, a strength survey, a children's strength survey, children's happiness survey. There is a lot of surveys in there anyway. But I was trying to, you know, just show you the strength survey, and they're really interesting to do. I do them, I probably just review my strengths probably every 6 months, just to see if, you know, some changes I've made in my life have really made any difference to my strengths. And the one thing that never seems to change, and my top strength, interestingly enough, is love of learning. So that is always sitting at the top. And it's really interesting what that means about me as a human. So it gives you a definition of what that means. So if I can encourage you to go do it, you've got to answer about 240 questions. So give yourself half an hour. But it's really interesting. It'll give you your top 6 strengths in your life, and you'll probably go, yeah, I knew that, or wow, I did not know that about me. Okay, and it can be really interesting to learn that, just that little bit more about how you tick. Okay, so I haven't got anything else to talk about with you today. Has anybody got anything they wanted to add before we sign off? No? Once again, thank you for everyone for your time today. I hope there is something from this hour together that will give you another way of thinking that can help you keep growing and keep evolving. And I'm really grateful for your time.
Thank you so much.
See you all. Bye.